I'm sure most of you have heard of Sean Diddy Combs, big rapper in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and currently under federal indictment. He is facing a whole bunch of big problems. One count of RICO, racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. That carries a maximum of life in prison. Mandatory sentence, 15 years in prison. 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, which carries a. This dude's he's dealing with a lot of issues here. That is for sure. And his trial's supposed to start this month. Hip hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. With us is attorney Jeremy Rosenthal. Jeremy, as a lawyer, I understand what the batting average is for federal prosecutors. It's about 99%, at least up in this district.
Right.
It seems to me that in a case like this, that poor Sean Diddy, he's got 2 chances, slim and none, and I think none might be leaving the courtroom. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the legal analysis. I mean, sometimes
actually
like
Slim's leaving the courtroom by mistake. It's Slim walking out the door. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. I mean, look, there's the feds. They play hardball, and what we tell our clients is if they have an FBI agent who's questioning them, you know what they already know. They already know the answer, so you need to be honest with them. They wire these things 10 ways till Sunday. And they don't indict cases unless they think they're going to win them, more often than not, especially the high-profile stuff. They've got, you would think, an army of witnesses that are going to come and testify, some of whom probably have their fingers bent back a little bit, some of whom are probably legitimately victims here. He's up against it. He turned down a plea deal last week. We don't know what that was. We don't know what the offer was. What concessions the government was going to make, and Diddy wants to, he's going to roll the dice.
Yeah, I'm surprised the feds would even offer a plea deal in a case like this. Maybe it wasn't a particularly sweet plea deal. How old's this guy? He's got to be pretty close to 60, I'm assuming, at this point, or maybe just a little less.
I think that's right. He's in his 50s, is my understanding. And I mean, sometimes when you're that's one, I guess, downside, if you will, to such heavy-handed punishment is you really put the defendant in a no-lose situation or a no-win situation, in which case it's like, well, we may as well go out fighting. I practice in Texas, and no politician in Texas gets elected on the platform of I'm going to be easy on crime, right?
Sure.
So when the prosecutor comes out and says, well, I'm going to put you in prison for 50 years, and my client's 48 years old. Well, do you feel like, dying in prison at the age of 97? No, let's go. Let's take this for a spin. So sometimes that is what you get.
How did this case get Manhattan jurisdiction? And that I believe that a lot of the partying supposedly went on. He had homes in California and Florida. I'm just curious from a jurisdictional point of view how it ended up in New York City.
I mean, when you have so many tentacles, it doesn't have to be much to get you to be within the federal jurisdiction. They just literally have to have one thing that happened of all those things, and it could even be a money thing that happened there, and that's where they wanted to do it. So that's where they indict it. You see that a lot with the federal government. I mean, they will they'll meet you, in a big multi-party drug conspiracy that involves people in other countries. They're like, why am I in Missouri? Why are they trying this here? We're going to make you come to the Quick Trip just on the other side of, I-40 and oh, okay. Yeah. So they get you kind of where they want. But when there's so many issues and moving parts to a case, in a case like this, they don't need much to get you where they want. And that's why they are there.
Does he have high-profile defense attorneys? Anyone that the public would know, or just the best defense attorneys he could find? I'm sure he's got the finances to hire good, competent counsel.
Yeah, one of his lawyers is named Mark Agnifilo, who I don't know if he's related to I don't know if he's related to Luigi Mangione's attorney. Maybe their brother, sister, maybe their spouse. Maybe it's just two random Agnifilos.
Yeah, well, not many with that last name. Yeah, okay.
Not a lot of those guys running around.
It's not quite as common as Smith, that's for sure.
Yeah. Not so much. But then another one is, I believe, Mark Garagos' son is also one of his lawyers.
Out of Las Vegas, well known, a big lawyer.
And I was going to say here.
I got one other question.
Yeah.
Some people will say, "Well, here's this trial coming up in May of 2025." The indictment came down last September, so it was the Biden Justice Department that brought the case. This is not a case that was brought by the newly installed administration, and I think that needs to be pointed out, because obviously it was investigated and the indictment was brought by the Biden Justice Department.
You're absolutely right, and I think that's what a lot of folks sort of lose track of, is that our attention naturally goes to a lot of the big sexier, pardon the pun, right? A lot of the big sexier, things that have to do with immigration and Abrego Garcia and all the litigation over El Salvador and all of these things, and so we tend to view these things with a political lens. The reality is 98% of the Justice Department is doing really, really meat and potatoes work. They're investigating Medicare. They're investigating Medicare and Medicaid fraud, PPP loans that are fraud, H-1B visas, those and other types of immigration fraud. Those are things that were investigated very thoroughly by the Biden administration, and maybe there's an uptick with Trump, but you don't see a lot of changes in those things. They go after human trafficking. They go after drug rings, fentanyl, OxyContin. They go after all of these things. So 95% of what they do just really hasn't changed, and I think this is a good example of that. And one thing I was going to point out too, kind of talking about the lawyers, James Comey, the former director of the FBI, his daughter is one of the federal prosecutors on the case. So the prosecution has kind of their star team at this as well.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how it works out. Have anyone recommended or suggested as this got to be probably a 2 or 3 month trial? I'm assuming if this is not a quick one and done.
Can't be. Yeah, they're only 2/3 of the way through jury selection right now. And I think opening statements are scheduled for the 12th. This thing, I want to say 6 weeks is about right, and federal cases can go that long. I mean, it's hard because you want people to show up for jury duty, but then when folks are listening to this and they say, "What? I can go and be on the jury for 6 weeks." It can be a pretty intensive thing when you have all of these, when you have all of these charges, all of these witnesses, all of this evidence. I mean, can you imagine all the data that they must have here, all the cell phone data, computer data? It's quite an undertaking, and if probably
if you're going to put those forensics in, obviously you got to have foundational witnesses to make sure that the jury understands that these forensics are legitimate, and you got to qualify the witnesses, you got to qualify their testimony. It's not just putting a guy or a woman up on the stand and saying you're an FBI agent did this, you look at this. I mean, they do it. It has to be done thoroughly. Has to be done
exactly.
Or it's going to
be
right for appeal. Absolutely.
Yeah, and just to your point there too, that if there was going to be a plea deal, that would be why, right? Would be to, if you spare us 5 weeks, if you give us 5 weeks or 6 weeks of our life back, P. Diddy, if you'll do that, then we'll give you 10 years of your life back, right? On the plea deal. So if you were going to see a plea deal, that would probably be why.
Well, we will see. Jeremy, as always, I appreciate your time and your expertise, and it's amazing. We have the Karen Reed trial going on up here, which is not a federal trial, it's a state trial, but has generated a lot of national and international publicity for someone who, before this, was not nearly as well known as the superstar rapper. So I can just imagine when this case really gets going, and it's where everybody's going to understand it before it's over. That's for sure. Appreciate your time,
Yeah.
Jeremy. Counselor. Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
You too.